Okay, there was a blonde. She was speeding down I-5, going way too fast, and she was pulled over by the CHP. The CHP officer was also blonde, and she approached the driver and she said, "License and registration, please, ma'am." The blonde driver looked through her handbag. She couldn't find it. She didn't know what she was looking for. She was getting very nervous. The blonde female CHP officer said, "You know, your license, it's a little rectangular thingy, you know, you'll see your picture. That's what I want." So the blonde driver starts looking through more carefully, starts taking things out, and she sees a little mirror. She sees her face. So she hands her mirror to the officer. The officer looks at it and says, "Why didn't you tell me you were an officer? On your way." Now, why I like to tell you that joke is it's about identity theft, sort of. You know, who are we? Who are we? Who are we trying to be? And when I was asked to give this talk, and when I was told I'd be the last speaker, try to keep things livened up for the few remaining souls, but there's so many of you. Thank you. I'm really honored that you're here. Of course, maybe your ride's not here yet, so that's why you're still here. But just in case it's because of me, I really do appreciate it. And actually, Deborah told me, you know, you're going to be talking about identity theft, and I know it's about crime, and, you know, it's kind of, you know, that's probably what you usually talk about is the criminal side of it. Well, our theme is empowerment, inspiration, and connection. So, you know, could you try to, like, work that in? And so I was thinking, well, okay, yeah, you know what? It is kind of a downer, my job, yeah. I'm sending people to prison, I'm arguing how long they should go. Identity theft is real, you know, victimized a lot of people. It's sad, it's hard. Maybe I should think about it in a more positive, empowering light. And I was thinking, yeah, you know, what if identity theft really meant identity trading? And maybe someone would like to be me for a day, and it wouldn't be that they were doing it to commit fraud. Maybe someone just wanted to be me. And maybe I could go along with that. You know, I could think of a few days that I would be willing to trade. And I was thinking, boy, I wish that person a lot of luck. I hope that person remembers to get dog food on the way home. And I hope that person notices the car's on E. And I hope that person has a tampon. Because that's a day I would trade. Yep. That was it. So usually when I go talk about identity theft, I talk about the cases that I prosecute, and a lot of people want to know about one of the big cases I prosecuted, which was a case involving a lady named Annette Yeomans. And Annette Yeomans worked at a construction company for 18 years, and she liked to gamble, and she liked shoes, and she liked Italy. Not Little Italy, Mrs. Hewitt, but the real Italy. And what did she like to do there but shop? And so what she did was she began stealing from her company, a company where she'd worked for 18 years. And the company had two owners who had treated her like their little sister, had trusted her and given her basically total power over all the financial end. After all, these two owners built cabinets, and they built homes, and they built custom woodwork, and that's what they did. That's what they were good at, and that's why they hired someone to do their books, which only makes sense. It's how business is run in America. If you have a skill, you hire a bookkeeper or an accountant to do your books. Well, along the way, she began doing the pricing. She began doing the accounts receivable, the accounts payable. You know, little by little, she was able to reconcile the books to where they looked great for the CPA every month, or whenever they did their audits, their taxes always worked out fine. And they had absolutely no idea that she was embezzling from their company, and had been for a long time. In fact, a little aside story, the owners were irate. Actually, they couldn't sleep. At the time I met with them, they just could barely speak about it. And one of the sort of funny, sad stories they told me is, you know, we would go to these conferences in Las Vegas, and Annette would go with us, you know, and we'd be going to these contractor-type conferences, and, you know, we would stay in the $69, you know, contractor rate rooms, and Annette Yeomans would be in the penthouse. And, you know, the limo would come pick her up and, you know, take her to another casino and this and that. And all the while, it was because she was such a high roller with all of their money and all of their kids' money. And now they'll basically never be able to retire. It was over a $10 million loss to them. They had slow progress in their company, so they always felt like things were going right. But they had no idea how wildly successful that they had actually been and what wonderful cabinet makers they actually had been, and they are now trying to realize their ambition now after being horribly victimized, and she is in state prison eating bologna where she should be. Yeah, that case went very well for us. Right now I work on a task force downtown, mainly with Secret Service agents. I do work with FBI on occasion and San Diego Police Department, and I work on what's called the Regional Fraud Task Force, and we take big cases in, cases that are kind of messy, cases that are going to need some serious working and managing, and eventually will come to fruition, but are going to take a while on their journey. And so I've learned some things about identity theft along the way, and there's kind of a difference when I go out and speak between what the men ask me and what the women ask me. And it reminds me of that book, you know, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which I love the title of that because I do like to think of men as being alien Martians and women as being beautiful goddesses. And I think that when you think of the book that way, and my apologies to the humongous muscly man in the front row, seriously, it kind of makes sense. And the men always want to know what kind of punishment are people getting nowadays. You know, when this sort of thing happens, I want to know what's happening out there. And I tell them, well, you know, we're getting a lot stiffer sentences now. Judges are coming around. The community won't stand for it anymore. We're getting a lot of cooperation with the banks and our prosecutions. And so we get these outstanding, tremendous results. And the women want to know, is online shopping safe? And you know, I take you back to Barbara's comments about women driving the economy and therefore the world. It's important to know that online shopping is safe. And in fact, I go beyond that when I answer the question. I tell people, I online shop. That's pretty much the only time I have to shop is at night in my pajamas. And it's the only time I feel free enough to shop because I'm trying to budget like I'm supposed to, but I've had wine, and so I can shop online. It's good. And I get a lot of things done, and I enjoy it. And I don't recommend you go to any kind of crazy websites. You know, if Google will take you there on the first page, maybe the first 10, first 20, you know, you're going to be all right. But I recommend, I'll give you a practical tip. This is what I tell people. I recommend that you get an online shopping credit card. Have one that has air miles on it or a rewards card, whatever, from your bank or whatever company you want to use, and keep it next to your computer. That's what I do, in a drawer. But that's the card I use online. And so if something happens to that card, you know, that card gets compromised, that account gets taken over, well, I know how it happened. It happened from online shopping at some company I've been to. I may have a way of containing it, but I certainly won't be out of pocket. On the other hand, when people are out, I try to discourage you from using your ATM card out and about. You know, your ATM card, at least in my family, my ATM card is tied to our cash. Because my husband and I have direct deposit, most people I think do, and the ATM card is how you get cash out. So if I'm out and about and someone is able to get my ATM card, I leave it somewhere, a waiter swipes it and has my PIN, or somehow someone watches me, whatever, all these different various ways, then they can take out all my cash. And then that's going to be kind of hard because in the morning at my house, everyone in the house wants a few dollars, and they take it. And so I need to have a little cash because I cannot be making 3 people's lunches in the morning. They have to have $5 each so that they can take care of that themselves, and I need that cash. So try to do that. It's also perfectly acceptable. Most places still will take cash. But I do like to mention to you, you might be wondering why all of a sudden, well, maybe not all of a sudden, but maybe you've noticed all of a sudden that so many places you go to now, they take out these little pins and they're like, you know, make a mark, and you think, geez Louise, it's a 20. I mean, I'm going to give you a bad 20. But you have to realize something you don't know is that in our county takes in more than $60,000 a week in counterfeit money. It's out there. And why it's out there is, I'm not going to blame Sony, of course, but there's so much technology and these people out there, you know, I mean, we see the craziest dang things. Some people will scan in it. Now, please don't do this. Please don't do this. I'm not telling you this so that you could try it.